And we are live. Hey
All right.
guys, thanks for tuning in to Now That's Debatable. I know it's been about 2 weeks since I last streamed. Just my schedule's been getting a little busy, but I want to thank Ed for coming back on again. Good to see you, man.
Good to be here, man. Good to be here. It's like WWE, man.
Yeah,
We have our tough exchanges, but beyond that, man, we know it's just a part of the game. But
yeah, man. I always enjoy our conversations, man.
yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
my co-host, he may or may not be in.
Okay.
He has a schedule conflict as well. But
Okay.
it's all good. So we'll see if he hops in, great. If he doesn't, it's all right. We'll just keep
Okay.
it rolling. But yeah, I wanted to bring you on because it was something that I was thinking about a few weeks ago. It's about like the gospel and
Okay.
original sin. The,
So,
in my opinion, the gospel as it's presented, even if I accept it, it doesn't seem like it should be something that I would thank God for. For
okay.
for one, the original sin. So when Adam sinned, when Eve was deceived, she gave the fruit to Adam. He bit the fruit. That seems to be entirely God's fault. He put him in that situation. Also, God's reaction to it seems to be entirely within his own domain. Like he could control it. He is choosing to send people to hell in response to what Adam did.
Okay.
All he would have to do is just not send them to hell. So even if you accept the gospel and you're saved, you're just being saved from him, from the guy who's saving you. It's like for instance, let's say I decided that I was going to try to kill you. And then then I said, you know what, Ed? I'm going to save your life. You were going to die, but I saved you. And
Okay.
you asked me, oh, what did you save me from? I saved you from me. I saved you from me. And this is exactly how I see the gospel. Is
Okay.
we're not being saved from the devil. We're being saved from God, right?
Sure.
Okay. So I guess
In some sense, it depends on what angle you look at it. But
okay.
yeah.
So I mean, so in that sense, in any other circumstance other than the gospel, would you feel thankful for that? Like, would you, like right now? Do you thank me for from saving you from me?
Um, the way you presented it in your context, no.
Okay, so that seems to be functionally equivalent to the gospel. Like I
Seems,
agree that would be a silly thing
seems
to
to be.
thank me for.
Seems to be.
Hmm.
But I mean, there's definitely some differences. But
Okay, so let's say, what would you say? What's the difference? What is it about the gospel that would would justify us being thankful for God saving us from Himself?
the question is, what do you deserve? So I haven't done anything
Hmm.
to deserve you killing me or trying to kill me.
I
Because
would
that
say that
so
I agree with you, and I say I don't think you deserve anything um to go to hell either. Like, matter of fact, like your condemnation from hell. Maybe you
yeah,
disagree. Maybe you have a different theology from what I had when I was a Christian, but I believe you were going to hell because you were born in sin because of what Adam did. He brought sin in the world.
it's not that's not quite what it is.
Okay,
That's not quite what it is.
so do you think when you were first born, you're on your way to heaven, and then when you commit your first sin, or how does it work?
So there's some point in which you sin and then you're guilty.
Okay,
That's
so like babies by default, they're on their way to heaven until they sin, then they're on the way to hell.
if the sin occurred whenever that sin happened.
The first sin.
Then you get then you guilty.
Okay. So,
Yeah,
all right. So
but
let's
but you're not guilty until you sin.
let's say a baby sin. You think
Yeah,
that baby deserves to go to hell?
yes, that's what they deserve.
Okay.
Because that the punishment of sin is death. The wages of sin is death.
Do you if okay? So if I was anytime a baby is killed, do you think the baby deserve it?
I wouldn't go out there and say that. I wouldn't.
Could a baby do?
Let me stop. Let me stop. Let me stop. Let me
Okay.
stop. Because because there's a difference between a person killing somebody
Hmm.
and what's innocent according to the standard of man and what's innocent according to the standard of God.
Is there anything a baby could do to deserve to die?
According to the standard of man, I would say almost never. Pretty much never. I just say never. According to the standard of man.
Okay. And so, but if the God could send, but God could kill a baby and it
Yes.
be justified. Okay.
Because
All right. So,
it's, because he has a standard of righteousness that's so high
mhm.
and so perfect that by his standard, even a baby wouldn't be clean. But by our standard, it would be.
Okay. So, when people sin, do they sin because they have a sin nature, or is it? Or did Adam do anything to have an impact on our ability to sin? Like for instance, let's say Adam never bit the fruit and we were just in a garden. Will we be
Yeah.
able to sin?
I would say, man, I would say it's a ripple effect because this is something I wrestle with my own self.
Hmm.
Face value, if Adam sinned thousands of years ago, and I'm born, and just by being born, I'm guilty of what he did, that wouldn't be right. And I knew that for a long time, and I wrestled with that. And so there's a verse in Ecclesiastes that says that God made all men upright, but they all have turned aside to their own devices.
Hmm.
So we have the sin nature, but we don't have to sin. But what happens is we all do the same thing that Adam did. And so that's what puts us in the same boat as Adam.
So
Not because Adam did,
Adam
but
could have
because
sinned. Do you think Adam could have sinned without biting the fruit?
could he have sinned without biting the fruit?
Hmm.
Um, I would say he didn't know what sin was enough beyond
I
biting
agree.
to be able to do that. So here's what it is. Even if Adam didn't sin,
Hmm.
it's so likely that somebody else would. I
So,
mean, just the
but
nature of people, you know. So
sure.
somebody would have.
So okay, but it was so sin is a direct result of Adam biting the fruit, right?
It's a. Let me put it this way.
Hmm.
Let's say your dad is drunk. Well, I'm not trying to talk about your family,
Yeah, yeah, I know. I mean, it's an analogy.
but somebody like say your dad is a drunk.
Hmm.
You have the genetic potential to be a drunk as well. But when you become of age, you being a drunk is completely on you, even though you are a drunk because your dad was a drunk. You don't have to be a drunk, but maybe you end up being a drunk anyway. And if you do, that's on you. So that's kind of what it is.
So, so would you say when Adam bit the fruit, was
Yeah,
he sinning?
yeah, he was.
Did Adam know he was sinning?
Yeah, yeah, he did.
Okay, so
Because that's why he hid himself.
I guess this guy goes back to my issue with the gospel, right? Because now this is why Adam needs the gospel, right? He needs Jesus, so he won't be able to sin. Now, when Adam bit the fruit,
Yeah,
that fruit was the knowledge of good and evil, right?
that's what the fruit was. Yeah,
Right. So if Adam acquired the knowledge of good and evil by
yeah.
biting the fruit, that means before he bit it, he wouldn't know that it was wrong, right?
He knew it was wrong because of what God told him, but he didn't intrinsically know what the effects would be.
Right, but he know what God told him, but he wouldn't know that disobeying God is wrong.
Well,
Because
let me put it this way.
Mhm,
There's a there's a certain age when your parents tell you stuff,
mhm.
and you're supposed to do it because they told you that you're supposed to do it. But when you get older, some of them same things, you learn the real world consequences if you
Sure,
don't do what you told you to.
sure, but like, even when I'm a child, I know that disobeying my parents is wrong.
Yeah, you do. Yeah,
Yeah. So now Adam, I don't see
yeah.
how he would know that disobeying God is wrong because the knowledge of good and evil, which is essentially just morality, was in the fruit. He wouldn't have that knowledge prior to biting the fruit. So he wouldn't even know that what he's doing is wrong.
He would know. He know he's supposed to obey God. He would know that.
Well, I don't know if he would know that because
Yeah.
the way he would know that is because he would know that it's good, right?
So then why did he hide himself? God said, "Well,
Because after he bit the fruit, then he had the knowledge of good and evil. And
okay,
now he know right, and now that he knows what he did is wrong. But
okay,
prior to that, I don't see why he would know that. It matter of fact, the way the story is written,
yeah."
it seems that he wouldn't know that. I don't see how he could because the knowledge didn't come until after he bit it.
All right. So if he didn't know he was wrong, why didn't he himself like it before?
Say that one more time. Why did he bite it? You mean why didn't he bite it before Eve?
Yeah. Why didn't he bite the fruit if he didn't think
Well,
it
I
was
mean,
in?
it was like there was only two people in the garden, right? So it's the 50-50 chance. Eve just happened to be approached by the snake first.
No, because Adam was in the garden for a duration of time,
Yeah.
and he never ate the fruit.
Yeah. I don't know how long he was in the garden prior. I mean, it doesn't say. Could have been years, it could have been a few minutes. I mean, not sure. But I mean, what I'm saying is there's only two people in there, Adam and Eve.
I
Now, so you
understand.
ask him why didn't Adam
Why
eat
don't
the
we
fruit
pick a
before
time?
Eve? I mean,
Why
not
why don't
sure.
why don't we pick a time for argument's sake? How long was he in that garden before? Now
I
we know.
I mean
Now,
let's we
now
can give
let
whatever.
me say this. Now
Mhm,
he had to name that.
sure.
So
Let's
if
give him a week. Let's say he's in there for a week. Either way, you will run into the same
it
problem.
take it
Adam
take
does
longer than a week to name all the animals,
okay.
but I give
Let's
you
say
that.
10 years. Let's give it
Okay,
10 years. The amount
okay,
of time doesn't matter to me. The issue is
okay.
Adam doesn't know that it's wrong because he doesn't have the knowledge of good and evil. Eve is in the same predicament. She wouldn't know that is wrong either.
Oh, okay.
So
Let me ask you this: if he didn't know it was wrong, why didn't he do it for that 10 years before he?
I mean,
I think 10 years is a little long, but
maybe I mean whatever time you like. To me the time period, whether it's a split second or it's a thousand
let's give
years,
it six
if
months.
he did
I like 6 months.
okay 6 months. All right.
Yeah.
So either way, he does not have the knowledge prior to biting the fruit, which means God put in a rule that prevented him from understanding morality, yet made a moral command of him. Now, why? Yes, why did Adam bite the fruit? I mean, I don't know. Maybe it
See,
looked good. I ate a watermelon earlier. It
now,
looked good.
now here's the difference. Here's the difference. I don't think that's a moral command.
You don't think it's a moral command?
No, see that's
So,
why, man. We've had several conversations
but
where I split morality from things that God says to do. They're not the same thing
so when
because
I say
it's not immoral to eat fruit.
Now, yeah, I agree it's not immoral to eat fruit, but like in
Yeah,
this specific story,
yeah,
God is telling him not to eat the fruit. God told Adam not to eat the fruit. And so
that's right.
disobedience to God would be the wrong part, right? It's not there's nothing intrinsically wrong with biting the fruit. It's that
But
in this circumstance, God told Adam not to do it.
that's the difference. That's the difference between morality and doing what God says. That's why it's
Okay.
different.
So when I say morality, I'm just speaking
You put
broadly
them
about
together.
of
Right.
what I'm talking about the difference between good and evil.
But
So
see
you have
but
good
see
on
that's
one
the
side,
thing,
evil on the other side, and that is I would say that is morality.
and that's the problem. That's part of the problem
Okay,
because
so
because there are things that God says that doesn't have to do with morality.
sure, there are things that God says that doesn't have to do with morality, but this specific thing, right? Okay,
Yeah,
when God punished Adam, he kicks him out the garden. Why does he
yeah.
kick him out the garden? Is it because he did anything wrong?
Or there's several. He kicked him out the garden partially to save him because it says that if he ate the tree of if he ate the other tree,
Yeah, he would live forever.
he
That
would
would
in that state. Yeah,
what would he need to be saved from?
his own sin.
But how would he need to be saved from his own sin? He's going to live forever in the garden with God.
Yeah,
There's nothing's going to
but
come in and harm him.
now that he's eating the fruit, he's been corrupted.
Okay, so don't you think it would be fair if we're going to punish Adam for doing something wrong? Wouldn't you think it'd be fair and to explain right and wrong to him?
He already explained to Adam what he was supposed to do.
No, yeah, he explained to Adam what he was supposed to do, but what he
Yeah,
didn't explain to him was that obeying God is right, that disobeying God is wrong. He doesn't explain that. So if like let's say like when I said earlier
So,
that
so let me
children
so,
should
so,
obey.
so let me ask you this: if he was in the garden for the 6 months, that's what we agreed on.
Mhm.
If he was in the garden for the 6 months, what stopped him from eating fruit?
I'm not sure. No, so there's a
Okay.
guy in the comments. He's making very precise statements about the Bible, where he says God was afraid of Adam becoming like them. That's actually what it says in the Bible. But uh, Ed, I mean, you believe that it was Adam's sin that led him out the garden, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So like, I'm just responding to a comment from No Heroes because
Okay.
he, he's
Let's hear the
he,
comment.
he's talking about exactly what the text says, and No Heroes
Okay.
isn't wrong. I'm just speaking to Ed about what he specifically believes.
Let's hear what the comment said.
Oh, the
I can't
comment.
see.
So
I can't see.
so we're talking about. So when I had said earlier about Adam being kicked out of the garden, he said God was afraid Adam becoming like them. So after
Where does it say that? Where does it say God was
I think
afraid? Where does it
well
say afraid?
Well, it doesn't say exactly that he's afraid, but that's
Okay.
definitely implications.
It just
It says
doesn't fit.
Adam has eaten the fruit, and
Yeah.
he's become like us,
Yes.
understanding the knowledge of good and evil.
That's
And
right.
and
Yeah.
then it said we got to kick him out, lest
Yeah.
he eat from the other tree and live forever.
That's right. That's
So
right.
that
Okay.
definitely it kind of implies that he is
Tree of
afraid of
life.
something.
No.
And as a matter of fact, God had left that part out of the instructions. God didn't tell Adam that he was going to become like God, understanding knowledge of good and evil. What he told Adam was that he was going to die.
That's
He's
right.
going to die that day. And then
Yeah.
the serpent comes later and tells him the truth that you won't die that day. What's actually going to happen is that you're going to understand the knowledge of good and evil and become like God in that sense. And God
And, and,
confirms that later on.
and see, that's the difference between spiritual death and physical death. They're not the same thing.
Well, sure. Okay. I can grant that. We can get, but now my point is that if God is going to hold Adam accountable for something that he did,
Well,
doing
well,
something wrong, if you're
let
gonna
me let me let me pause you real quick.
okay.
and I'm gonna keep going back to this until we deal with it. You can go forward with your point, but I'm gonna keep going back to it till we deal with it. Why didn't he eat that fruit for the 6 months he was in the garden naming animals? What kept him from it? That has to be dealt with
The
because
text, the answer is the text doesn't say. It doesn't say how long he was in the garden. It doesn't say that that fruit was even there. We don't know when God made that specific fruit. There's no explanation given.
there is an explanation.
What?
The trees and all of that was made really before he was there.
Yeah, so the trees were
So,
made on the third day.
yeah,
However, it doesn't say when God made this specific fruit, or when
the
this
same
fruit
day,
could have sprouted later on. Is what I'm saying. But but but
be the same day as all the other
okay,
trees.
tell me where in the, what is the reason Adam didn't eat it prior?
This is what we can conclude. What we can conclude is in a really rudimental way. We can conclude that whatever it was enough for him. It was enough for him not to do it. It was enough for him to know not to do it and obey it.
Or maybe he just didn't get to it yet. Like
No,
no idea. Like there's no telling. But either way, it doesn't matter at what point.
so why? So then why didn't the serpent approach him? Or why didn't the serpent approach Eve when Eve was around him?
Like I said, I mean,
You see what I'm
this
saying?
we're talking about. This is a 50-50 shot. If the serpent approaches anybody, there's a 50-50 chance it's going to be Adam. It was a coin toss. It just wasn't.
Well, this is the problem. The problem is I get there's a 50-50 shot, but where did the serpent approach Adam?
So the serpent approached Eve.
Because check this out. Before Eve entered the picture, check this out. Before Eve entered the picture, it was no 50-50 shot. It's
Okay,
just
we could transfer the problem to Eve. Eve didn't know that it was wrong either.
This is the problem.
Neither Adam,
before Eve got in the picture, it was just Adam.
Sure,
it was one
but neither Adam nor Eve understand the difference between good and evil. It doesn't matter when they eat the fruit. So, okay, so the timetable we're talking about really doesn't matter. The fact that they don't understand that what they did is wrong until after it's already done, that's problematic. Because you're holding them accountable for something without explaining morality. If he had done this from the beginning, perhaps they would have had another outcome. Like when I tell my daughter not to do something, I explain to her that that's wrong. I explain morality to her. I explain why she should care about people. Right?
Yeah.
If I keep those things from her, it makes no sense to hold her accountable, not morally. So you can't punish Adam for doing something wrong because he didn't know that it was wrong. And God intentionally put him in that place. Adam could have understood that it was wrong, but God created a scenario where he wouldn't understand something's wrong until after he's already done it.
I see your point.
It's entrapment.
But here's the problem. Whatever he was told, it was enough for him to obey it for a duration of time and obey it so well that even the serpent knew, I can't even approach him right now because he knows so well not to eat this fruit. I ain't even gonna approach him because
I don't see how you can say the serpent knew that.
So then why didn't he approach him before Eve showed up? Why did he approach him before Eve showed up?
I mean,
why did he approach Eve only when Adam wasn't around?
The fact of the matter is the text doesn't say. It is mere speculation to try to say why the snake didn't approach Adam. Like the text just doesn't say that. We have the narrative as is written. I mean, we can come up with all kinds of scenarios. Why didn't Eve ask her husband for advice before biting the fruit? I mean, not sure, but it doesn't solve the problem.
You got to read between the lines.
Okay, what reading between the lines, it
let
says
me ask
here
you
is
this.
assistant. Okay.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Let's say there's a guy. Let's say there's a guy that has a problem with you,
Mm-hmm.
right? All right. He has a problem with you and your wife as a couple, right? He has a problem with you. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So um the guy is in your proximity for, I don't know, he's your next door neighbor. Okay. Let's say let's say there's a guy that has a problem with you and he's in your proximity. He's your next door neighbor. He know your schedule and he know what's going on, right? He waits till you go to work and then he go approach your wife when she outside.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? Is that just a 50-50 chance? Why why did he have to wait till you
Because
went to work to approach your wife while you going, while you ain't there?
because probably because he knows I'm going to respond in a certain way.
Okay. See how you can draw it the same way?
But I don't
It's the
see why
same
this
thing.
matters. But how does this solve the problem? Okay, but here, yeah.
Because check this out. The next door neighbor know that you have some relationship with standard or protection of standards that that don't allow him to feel comfortable to approach you, or you with the wife have to wait till after you go to work, have to wait till after you leave, then approach you. So that means that he not only knows something about you, but you know something
Okay.
that is so ingrained in your brain that it would be a deterrent from him trying to convince you of whatever it is the problem is that he
No
got.
here, no heroes just made a point that I just verified that I think may be devastating for your argument.
Let's hear it.
Okay, it says when the woman saw the fruit of a tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye, and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. She also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. So Adam was right there next to Eve the entire time.
Let's go back to the verse and see that see
This,
if that's what he said.
this is Genesis chapter 3, verse 6.
All right, I'm reading the verses now.
Yep. But by the way, I mean the snake at the timing, like I said, it really doesn't matter. The main issue is that Adam doesn't understand good and evil because God refuses to explain it to him. That is the main problem. Snake or no snake, Eve or no Eve. You can remove them and insert whoever.
So look, check this out. There is nowhere where it says that Adam is present
It says
when the
it
serpent is
says
having this conversation.
so read verse 6.
She already ate the fruit, and then when they go present it to Adam.
Read verse 6.
And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree to be desired to make one wise, she took the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave unto her husband also with her.
Yes,
And he
with her.
did.
That's what it means. So her husband was with her. That's the part. So
After
that
she
means
went to
Adam is right there. Gave to her husband who was with her. So Adam wasn't somewhere else. He was standing right next to Eve. So in with her, that means Adam is in earshot of this conversation, probably standing next to each other. but it doesn't change anything. It's my point. The
But
fact of the matter
you
is,
said
if,
it
if I
devastates my
punish you,
argument. You said it devastates my argument.
yeah. So you're so the point you're trying to make is that you're trying to you're asking this question: why didn't the snake approach Adam when they had all of this time? You're saying like for some reason Adam knew somehow did know good, and he approached Eve instead.
That's
Well,
correct.
okay, but this argument falls apart because Adam was with Eve.
Well, who was the serpent talking to?
To Eve, but Adam is right there. So if I understand good, and then a snake starts talking to my wife who's standing next to me and tells her to do something evil that's going to result in us getting kicked out of the garden and then billions of people going to hell, I'm gonna say, hey, go away, snake, and then tell my wife, don't listen to him. Right? But he didn't do that because they had no understanding of morality because of the system that God set in place. And no hero said God let the snake in. Yes, God would have to let the snake in. If God's omnipotent, there's no other way the snake could get in there except for God letting him in.
Let me ask you a question on this verse. In the top of Genesis 3, where does it say Adam was there?
It says when it says that Eve gave the fruit to Adam, her husband, who was with her. That part when it says with her,
Yeah.
that means Adam's with him. That means like in the literal sense, Adam's there because
But
that's how
where does it say that at the top of the verse when the conversations happen?
she's biting the fruit. So they have the conversation, and then she bites the fruit, and then she turns around and gives it to Adam, who's with her. So are you suggesting that they had the conversation, and then what? Eve walks several miles away from the snake and
Not
then
Bob.
bites the fruit?
They're
Well,
from not
okay,
Bob.
okay, but so they're having this conversation about the fruit. The snakes is sitting there, and Eve is sitting there. They're by this fruit that they shouldn't eat, and they're having a conversation about it. And then she bites the fruit right there. Like the way the story is written, she bites the fruit in the presence of the snake and hands to Adam, who's also right there. That's why it says he was with her. What else does it mean? Like if I said that I went to church Sunday, my wife was with me.
Yeah.
Like that would mean that my wife is next to me, is there, and like in my presence.
Okay.
So that's the way it means like in any other sense. So right here, I'm just taking like the same interpretation you will apply with that wording in any other circumstance. I'm just applying it to Genesis. It says
Yeah.
that she gave the fruit to Adam, her husband, who was with her. So I mean, so Adam wasn't somewhere else. The story is written of them being in earshot. That's why a lot of times, like you see like movies or documentaries or not documentaries, but cartoons that depicts this Christian myth. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of times Adam and Eve are standing next to each other talking to the snake. It comes straight from this text. That's exactly what it says.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
hear what you're saying.
right, okay, so Adam was there, and neither of them understand the difference between good and evil. So we have a problem because God is punishing somebody for doing something without explaining the rules. This
But
this means this means
why did
God is
he not
wrong.
disobey it? Why did he not disobey it?
Adam did disobey.
Why did he not disobey it when he was by himself?
The
That's the
serpent
question.
didn't approach him when Adam was by himself.
Exactly. Why didn't he?
The text doesn't say.
Okay.
We
It's
we
gotta
can
be a
we can
reason.
we can speculate, but it doesn't matter Because even if
Yeah,
even
it
if the
does matter.
serpent
It does.
approached Adam
You know
by
why it matters? You know why it matters? It matters because that means that somebody was capable of sustained obedience and
no,
proved it.
that it doesn't mean that. You're just reading that into the text.
It's already there.
It's not there. The text doesn't say anything about that. It doesn't speculate about why the
So then did
serpent
he eat
chose a
the
specific point
so
in time.
did he eat the fruit before or not?
No, he didn't eat the fruit before.
So then that means he already knew what to do.
No, it means he didn't eat the fruit before. That's all it means.
Well, why didn't he eat the fruit before?
You can speculate and
Whatever
make
the
up
speculation,
reasons. You're saying that
what,
Adam just somehow knew good right from wrong.
whatever the speculation is, it caused him to not eat the fruit, which was the desired result.
It didn't cause him to not eat the fruit because he wasn't presented with it. Later, the snake presented him. So the snake told him. So God told Adam something that was wrong. The serpent
Not
contradicted.
morally, but that's not what God
No,
wanted to do.
not. I'm not saying morally. I'm saying it was inaccurate. God tells Adam he's gonna die the day he eats the fruit.
Yeah,
The serpent tells Adam he will not die the day he eats the fruit, but will become like God, understanding the knowledge of good and evil.
yeah.
When after Adam bites the fruit, what the serpent said came true. Not what God said came true, but what the serpent. And then a few verses later, God confirms what the snake said. He
And
said,
see,
we got to kick him out the garden
so,
because he has become
that's-
like us, understanding the knowledge of good and evil.
and see, that's the difference between how God looks at something and how man looks at something. It's
So
totally different.
in this sense, it seems to be that God is lying.
No,
Now,
he's not.
you can say you can say that he meant it in another way.
Okay, what is God? What is God?
A liar, apparently.
No, he's a spirit, right?
A spirit who lies.
No, he's a spirit.
Who lies.
No, he's a spirit. Okay.
Yes,
So
you're saying what he is.
listen,
I'm
listen,
saying what he does.
listen. He has a different anatomical definition of what he is. He is a spirit. So as a spirit, he sees things from a perspective that is spiritual. So from his perspective, that death is more significant than a physical death because
So
there are, by the same token, you see later in the Bible, people that physically died, God counts them as alive, like Abraham, like Moses, like people like
no.
that. Because the Bible says that they slept, but it doesn't say that they died. It says they slept,
Sometimes it says he
or it
died.
says they
Sometimes
gave up the ghost.
it
But
depends.
the in general, listen, the in general way that God refers to patriarchs is that they have slept or they have given up the ghost. But the way when you look at, he says, I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Not I was, because God looks at
Okay, question for you.
the
I got a
spirit of a person and
question.
the spiritual condition of somebody
So I got a question
over
for you.
the physical state.
So when God tells Adam that he's
Yeah,
going to die,
yeah,
and then serpent tells Adam that he's not going to die, are
yeah.
you saying they were both telling the truth?
The serpent was lying.
Okay, no, the serpent told Adam he wasn't going to die on the
Yeah,
day he bit the fruit.
yeah.
Did he die?
He did die.
He did. God kicked him out the garden, and then it says in the Bible that Adam died when he was 939.
He died spiritually.
Okay, but that's obviously not what the serpent was referring to, because there's two things that he told him. He told him one that he wasn't going to die, and that he will understand the knowledge of good and evil, and understand the knowledge of good and evil. Right
Yeah.
now, we know the good and evil part was true. The death part is also true because he dies later on. What you're doing is you're trying to reinterpret. You're throwing a twist on a serpent's
What,
words
what,
ain't on
what, what,
God.
what's the
You're trying
point?
to say you are twisting what the word death means just to make it out to seem that the serpent is lying and God is
I'm
telling
not
the truth.
twisting. I'm not twisting it because I can use the
Okay, but
scripture
the
to
serpent didn't
interpret the
lie.
word death and what it means.
Okay, but the serpent didn't lie because Adam didn't die that day.
That's why you see so many times in the New Testament they were dead in their transgression. Those people aren't physically dead, but how the Bible describes people, they're
So,
dead in their transgression
okay,
before
so
they know.
why would you think that the serpent is talking about spiritual death?
Why would I think the serpent is talking about spiritual death?
Mm-hmm.
The serpent is trying to trick them.
He's not tricking him. He told him what he says is exactly what happens.
And that's part of the trick.
If I tell you the truth, I'm not tricking you.
It
If
depends
I
on how
tell
you
you, if
see
I tell
it depends on how you see the truth.
the snake presented this story in a way where even a child would understand it.
So
He
so so
said
so
two
check so check
things,
so
both
check
of
this
those
out.
things happen.
So check this out. Smoking cigarette, right? Smoking cigarette, and say somebody roll up. They said if I smoke these cigarettes, it's gonna kill me. It ain't gonna kill you. Go ahead and take this cigarette. If you smoke that one cigarette, is it gonna kill you? No, it's not.
No, but
But
that
it's setting you up to
that would
die.
be a lie. If I say the day you smoke a cigarette, you will die. If you don't die that day, then I'm lying. Which is exactly what happened in Genesis 3.
Well, see, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Cigarette death is not the same thing as sin death.
Ed, you're the one that came up with this metaphor.
I
I'm not.
use
I
that
didn't want to present
metaphor.
this analogy.
Listen,
If you're
I
if you're
use,
saying the analogy is
I
flawed
use
now,
that
that's
metaphor.
you're
Listen,
using it. It's not me.
I know. Listen, I use that metaphor to explain the difference between something that's happening in the immediate and something that happens later.
But
So
you
somebody can use the fact. Check this out. Somebody can use the fact that they know the consequence is not going to happen right now to your visual to trick you and lie to you, to act as if
but
it's never
so
going to happen.
your analogy left out a crucial detail because
What did we leave out?
your analogy fails to give a timetable upon which death would occur on that day. Genesis 3, God does that. He says, on the day you eat from that fruit, on the day that you eat from that tree, you will surely die.
Yeah,
And then
correct.
the snake says that on the day you eat that fruit, you will not surely die, but you will become like God, understanding the knowledge of good and evil. And you look at the way that rest of the story plays out, everything the serpent said is true. What God says did not happen unless you want to reinterpret it. But
It
Adam does
appears
not die until the ripe old age of 939.
he doesn't physically die till the end, but spiritually he
True.
dies when he's ate the fruit.
The text, if you want to throw that twist on it, the text doesn't say that.
It's not a twist, man. You use all the scripture
Okay, but
to read it through that lens, and it matches. The way God looks at death is not the same
so
thing,
would you
man.
okay? So when it says that Adam died at 939, how do you know it's referring to literal death? Maybe he spiritually died at 939, but perhaps Adam is still walking around.
No, that's talking about the physical
No, how do you know?
because he's
It
talking
uses
about a physical event
no, but
when he
you
died.
that's what you're
939.
saying. But that's what you're saying. I'm talking about how do you know? This is the same reason. I'm applying the same logic that you're applying here. They say Adam dies. God say Adam's going to die on this day, and then later on the text say he dies when he's 939. If you want to throw a spiritual death argument on what God says, why not throw it on the his actual age too, when he almost
Because
1,000 years later?
he was talking. You know who wrote the Bible?
A bunch of people wrote the Bible. Genesis likely had multiple authors. That's probably why Genesis 1 and 2 don't even agree. But
Moses
the point,
Moses is the main author. He's listed as the main author. Now we can listen.
he is not listed as the main author. There is no author listed in Genesis. Tradition attributes this to Moses.
Okay, that's what I mean.
But okay, all right.
Yeah,
Now,
that's what I mean.
okay,
Now listen. Now listen. Here's the difference. The difference is Moses or the writer of the scriptures describing specific events and what God Himself is saying. Okay. Let me give you another example. Let me give you another example so you understand. Okay. My cousin, he sees anybody that's 6'4" is short. Okay. From his perspective, because he's 6'5". Okay. So when he says a short person, that does not mean the same thing from somebody else's perspective that they're short. So when he's talking and he says short person, it could be somebody that's 6'4". But when I'm talking and I say a short person, I'm 5'9". So I mean what men typically mean as a short person.
okay,
But see, here's the deal. The person that wrote the scriptures, when they're describing Adam's life, they're talking about a human event. He died at 939. They're talking from a human perspective. But when God is talking, He's talking from a God spiritual perspective. From His perspective, Adam died as soon as he ate that fruit.
So do you
But from a
realize?
human perspective, he didn't die. But from a God perspective, spiritual perspective, he died as soon as he
Gotcha.
ate that fruit.
So the Hebrew word death is mut or whatever that's used here. It's used both in Genesis 3 and in Genesis 5, where Adam dies at 939. It's the same word.
That's fine.
Okay, so you're saying the same word has two different meanings, just two chapters apart.
It happens all the time.
Okay, so if we're gonna say that Adam was, you say that God was only referring to spiritual death. How do you know that Adam was talking about if he literally bites the fruit? What about spiritually biting the fruit?
Mm-mm. Doesn't work like that.
Okay, so if he literally bites, so God goes from literal to figurative language mid sentence. So when he says, "On the day you bite that fruit, you will surely die," and the bite is literal, the fruit referring to literal, and but somehow on death is now figurative. So God changed context in words mid sentence.
According to his own context.
Just you're throwing this context in here. All we
Yeah,
have are the words in front of us. God tells Adam that he's going to die.
that's right.
On the day that he bites the fruit, he will
That's
die.
right.
Now you're
That's
saying he's referring to literal fruit and taking literal bites, but spiritual
right.
death. I
That's
want to know
correct.
how do you just jump from interpretations? How do you go from literal to allegory mid sentence here?
Because the God is not allegory.
So God is not allegory, sure. This
To
God,
God, it's not
according to
allegory.
what part's not allegory?
To
The biting the fruit part.
it's not allegory to God.
Okay, so when Adam, when he says Adam's going to die on that day, that's not
Yeah,
allegory either, right?
that's not allegory to God.
So that means he's going to literally die.
Yeah, that to
He
God.
doesn't literally die. So to God,
I said to God.
From God's perspective, it's wrong. Adam does not literally die. He dies a long time in the future, almost 1,000 years later. I don't know how many days that is.
See, the problem is you're putting more emphasis on the physical death than the spiritual one.
I'm not. So what I want. So what I want.
That's why you're not taking into effect how serious that spiritual death is.
No. That's not what I'm doing here. I want you to choose between literal and figurative. You can't have them both, not in the same sentence.
What are you talking about?
You said when God, but you said when Adam dies, God is referring to a spiritual death.
That's right, spiritual.
Okay, so what I'm asking is, if God is speaking spiritually here, why couldn't it be the case when that God is also talking about God spiritually biting the fruit instead of actually doing it?
And see, here's the problem. You see, the spiritual is not literal.
So,
And that's just a
I am not saying that.
that's just a matter. That's just a
I'm
matter of
not.
not
I'm
respecting.
not saying it's spiritual or literal right now. I'm
Okay.
trying to figure out this sentence. On the
Okay.
day that you bite of this fruit, you will surely die.
That's right.
Now, according to you, this sentence goes from the physical to the spiritual realm.
That's right.
Mid sentence. So
That's
when it
right.
says die, it's talking spiritually. When it
That's
says
right.
bite, it's talking literal.
That's right.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you to make sense of that. How are you gonna just change interpretations midway through?
Okay. Well, I tell you how something like that can work in the natural. Okay. So say
I don't want an analogy here. I want you to give me some hermeneutic justification for why you're implying that interpretation on it.
I just tell you how it works in the physical.
You're telling me how you think it works. I'm asking you, why do you think that? What is it in this text that gives you cause to jump from one interpretation to another mid-sentence? It's one thing to do it across chapters or across verses. We're talking about
because the physical death
sentence.
because the physical death didn't happen. So that's how you know it has to do with the spiritual death. And then when you follow this spiritual death pattern, you take that all the way down to the New Testament.
But here's
and
the thing.
Still talking about the spiritual death.
But here's the thing. That's not how we know that, because it's also it could be the case that God is just lying.
No,
I mean, but God does lie.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't. He lied in Judges 10. That's definitely a lie. When he tells Israel that he's not going to save him anymore, then he saves him later.
No.
Yes, that's a lie. That's what it means. If I tell you I'm going to do something, then I don't do it, I'm lying. If I tell you something's going to happen and then it doesn't happen, I'm lying. Or I could just not know. But that doesn't seem to be a possibility if we're talking about an omniscient God.
So I told you I was going to jump on this call at 7. Right?
Yeah.
Did I jump on a call at 7?
No, you tried.
Okay, did I lie?
No, you're not omniscient, nor you omnipotent. So that's why I had just said this like a few seconds ago. I was like, it could be the case where like you're just mistaken, but this doesn't seem to be a possibility with God. You tried your best. You tried your best, but we had technical issues, so you didn't get on. That's right. That's not you lying. That doesn't make you a bad person. That's just what happens. You tried and it didn't work out. You're not God. Right. So if you knew in advance that you weren't going to be on the call at 7:00, and then you tell me that you're going to be on at 7:00, then you're lying. Okay, that is the scenario God is in. So he's either not omniscient or he's lying,
or you don't know what's really going on.
Perhaps he doesn't know what's going on.
Perhaps you don't know what's going on.
Perhaps I don't know what's going on. I know what the text says. I know I can read. And when we're talking about like attributing guilt here, you don't attribute guilt to people who don't understand the rules. I can't hold you accountable to the rules of basketball without explaining them first. That's
but
just how
he did explain what he was supposed to do.
No.
He's not supposed to eat of the tree.
Well, he did not explain morality. So yes, he told
him
not to
God
eat.
said it's separate of morality. Because eating fruit is not immoral.
So the reason why he would know to obey God is because he would know that is moral.
So how would he know to obey God all that time he was naming the animal? and didn't
I,
do it
I,
until he was handed it by Eve.
I mean, I don't know. This is just
He
what
had
the
to know
text says.
something.
This is a contradiction in your
Something was
text.
cooking.
So from what the text says, Adam did not understand right from wrong prior to biting the fruit.
He didn't understand right and wrong, but he knew what God said.
Yes, but he wouldn't know that it's wrong.
That's two different things.
Yes, it is. It is two different. I know. That's the point that I'm making. So if you don't understand that, if you don't understand right and wrong, it doesn't matter what instructions you're given. If you're told to do something, are you going to do it?
What are you talking about?
Just broadly speaking, if you're told to do something, or would you do it?
It depends on who's talking.
It depends, right? So like,
On who's talking.
If you're told to do something, is it right for you to obey?
It depends on who's talking.
So it depends. Like based on if you're told to do something right, then it's right to obey. If you're told to do something wrong, then it's right to disobey. So here at anytime God gives a command, Adam is presented with a choice. He can obey or he can disobey. That's the way it
Okay.
works with anybody.
Okay.
Anytime anyone tells you to, I could tell you to do something right now, and you're presented with a choice. You can obey or disobey me.
Sure. Sure.
And depending on the morality of that command, it's going to determine whether or not you should obey or disobey.
Sure. Sure.
You have to understand morality first to make a coherent decision about whether you should obey or disobey. If you don't have the understanding first, you
that's
cannot do
tip
that.
that's typically how it works after the fall. Yeah, that's typically after the work how it works
But
after the fall. But before the fall,
before the
something totally
fall,
different.
so you get instructions.
Yeah,
You have no idea whether they're good or bad. God tells him something, and then the snake tells Eve something else, an earshot of Adam, and then Eve gives something to him. So now Eve is telling Adam something. Is it right or wrong to eat from this fruit? Adam's presented with a choice, but he can't make one. He can't make a knowledgeable choice because he doesn't understand good and evil.
he
So when
understands what God said,
he knows what God is, he knows what God says. He
and
also
he knows
knows
that God made it.
he also knows what Eve said, but he cannot make a determination about what he should do. If Adam wants to be right, if he wants to be good, he doesn't have enough information to make this choice about whether or not he should listen to
He has
Eve.
enough information.
He doesn't have it. He doesn't
Just,
understand good and evil.
he has enough information. Just keep doing what you were doing before Eve showed up. Not eat the fruit. He has
Before
enough information.
before Eve show up, God would say something and Adam would do it. He was just following instructions. Now somebody else shows up and now all of a sudden they can talk too.
Yeah.
Was Adam going to probably just follow instructions? Why would it be wrong? In every other instance, when Adam is told to do something, he does it, and it's the good thing, right? This is no different.
But see, that's when he was dealing with
If
God.
Adam
Because
understood right and
yeah,
wrong, he would have known that he shouldn't have bit the fruit. But that's not the scenario that's presented in the text.
he knew he was not supposed to eat that fruit.
He
He
didn't
knew.
know that.
Yes, he did.
It-
That's why he didn't eat it before.
the knowledge of good and evil was not acquired until after he bit the fruit.
I
So
understand,
prior
but
so prior
obeying
to
God,
biting it, he wouldn't know
obeying
that it's
God.
wrong.
Listen,
He has
obeying
no
God is
knowledge.
beyond the knowledge of good and evil.
Is How would you know that it's good to
Obeying
obey?
God is beyond the knowledge of good and evil.
But
That's where the disconnect is.
Ed, okay, Ed. So I'm not asking you an ontological question. This is an epistemic question. How would you know that obeying God is good if you don't have the knowledge of good?
Prior experience.
Okay,
Check this out.
Adam
Check this
has
out.
none of
You
that.
asking me a question? Let me answer.
No,
You
no.
asking me a question? Let me answer. You asking
So
me a question? Let me answer.
you said prior
You
experience.
asking me a question? Let me answer.
Okay.
Okay. He saw that everything God had made was good, right? God made the animals, God made the garden, God made the sea,
He
God made
made
the sky,
he made the
God made
snake.
even
He
Eve.
made the fruit. He
Made
made
life.
Eve.
Yeah,
He
he
made
made all of those
he made
things.
the snake who told
So
him to
so
bite
he
the
knows,
fruit.
listen, he knows based on prior experience and dealing with God beyond a moral type of situation. He knows that God is good.
No, he
Beyond
doesn't.
a moral
That
sense,
is that
beyond a
is that
moral
is
sense,
wrong. There's no
listen, from a functional standpoint, he knows that the things that God does from a functional standpoint are good and it works. He knows from a functional standpoint, beyond a moral standpoint, a functional standpoint, things that God says and does works and functions. Looks good, feels good, all of that. So you know what? Doing what God wants you to do, it works.
So, according to the Bible, Adam does not. He says the man has now become like one of us, knowing good. He didn't know good at first.
That's not the same thing. That's why I said functional good versus moral good. That's two different things.
What are you? How is this? What is a functional good versus a moral good?
So okay. So say you have a working car, okay, and you like how it drives, you like how it sounds, so on and so forth. That doesn't have nothing to do with morality,
Sure,
but it's a
that's
good
not what's happening
functioning.
here.
It's a
But
good functioning car. It has nothing to do with morality. The car,
so
the
the
car is not.
fruit. So the fruit was a good functioning fruit because it did exactly what it was designed to do. Give the knowledge of good and evil. It did that. So it functioned good.
And it led to dysfunction and disarray, and he
And if
died.
God and Adam wouldn't know what dysfunction is, it was never explained to him. He wouldn't even know what evil is. It was never explained to him. And it was not only was it not explained to him, God had put an artificial barrier in place to prevent him from understanding it. So it is immoral to hold him accountable to it. Hold him accountable for it. You would be wrong to do that. You can't punish. I can't punish you for doing something wrong if I don't explain to you the rules beforehand. And especially if I go out of my way to ensure that you don't understand the rules and then punish you, that is immoral. God is
Well, if you tell a child that doesn't understand that there's cars on the street, and you tell a child don't run out in the street, and you don't explain it, then and they run out into the street
He'll
anyway.
still get hit by the car. But okay, but that's not what's happening here. Sure, like the kid will still get hit by the
If
car.
they run out, listen,
No,
if
no,
they run out there and they disobey what you said, even if they don't understand the concept of
no.
cars and not looking at all that, then they still subject to be punished.
No. They're
Even
not
if they
subject.
don't
No, no, no,
understand
no,
the
no, 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 no,
rules.
no, 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 no. They would get hit by the car, but if they don't understand good from evil, they're not. They shouldn't be punished. I shouldn't punish a kid for running out in the street if the kid doesn't know that running out in the street is wrong. Now, if there's a car there, he'll still get hit. But I
But the,
can't.
but the
I
kid, but,
can't
but, the, but, the,
execute
but
a
the
punish.
kid,
I can't.
the kid ought to be punished so they know not to run out in the street.
Okay, sure. I agree with that.
Okay.
That's not what happened. God didn't invoke any form of discipline here to stop him from doing it. God just gave him some ambiguous instructions epistemically from Adam's point of view, saying, "Hey, don't do this thing." But Adam has no knowledge of good, no knowledge of evil, so he wouldn't know that what he's doing is good. He wouldn't know that what he's doing is evil. That's why I was giving you that scenario earlier, saying that if I tell you to do something, anytime anybody tells you to do something, any
Yeah.
command you're given, you're presented with a choice. You can obey or disobey. You're a good person. You want to do good things, and so you're going to obey or disobey based on whether or not the command is good.
Let me give me some time to explain where you disconnected at. Okay. Let me explain where you disconnected. You keep talking over me. Let me explain where you disconnected at. First of all, you disconnected because you see things that are spiritual is not literal. They are literal to God. From a spiritual being's perspective, spiritual things are literal to a spiritual God. Okay. And so that's part of where you disconnect. The other
So
part of where you disconnected, listen, the other part of where you disconnected is you're equating morality to obedience and what God is saying. And it's two different standards.
okay,
Okay.
so
That's
no,
why I check this out. Listen, listen,
hold
listen,
on,
listen. No, listen, listen.
because
That's
you're
why
making two
there's
different
no,
points here.
listen. You're talking over me, man. Listen. That's why there's particular instances that appear to be not moral, but obedient according to God in other situations later on in the Bible, because morality and obedience to God are two
Okay,
separate things.
all right.
A
I want to focus
spiritual
on your
death,
first
listen
point
to
here.
me, listen to me. A spiritual death is very real,
Yeah,
but
sure.
according to people that don't look at the spiritual things, that's why it says in the Bible, God looks at
Ed,
the heart.
Ed,
Man looks
we
on
got to
outward
go back
appearance.
here. We got to go all the way back here. You're telling me everything you're saying. You've already said before, and I understand.
But you're not listening to it, and you're going beyond
I
it,
am
and you act
listening.
like I didn't tell you that.
No, I'm going. No, you said to a spiritual God. Spiritual is literal, right?
Yes,
Okay, here's the problem. When God says, on the day that you bite the fruit, you will surely die.
that's
You
right.
need, if it's to a spiritual God, spiritual is literal, you need to make up your mind. Either that sentence is fully spiritual or that sentence is fully literal. So which one is it? If
You
God is
making up a rule. Listen, you making up a rule that
well, it's a
rule,
rule in
that
the way
rule
we
is
use
something you making up.
language.
That's an arbitrary
So
rule. You making
it's
up.
a rule in where we use language. If I said I got in my car and drove to McDonald's, you
Yeah,
wouldn't say McDonald's literal, but the car was a metaphor. I actually just ran there, right?
you could,
You could, but that is not the way people talk. That is not the way things are written. If
you
you
could say that.
maintain consistency within the sentence, but you want to jump from spiritual to literal mid sentence. So you said for the spiritual God, spiritual is
Yeah, so,
literal.
so listen.
So
You
death
hear
is
this in track. No,
spiritual, but
listen.
the
No,
fruit is not.
listen. No, listen. No, listen. No, listen. You hear this in track all the time. They'll say, "Man, I got out there and I drove to the 50-meter mark." That's a literal 50 meters, but using a metaphorical driving, but they're really using their body to run to a particular point. So in that same sentence, I drove to the 50-meter mark.
So
You're
so
using
Ed,
the
Ed,
analogy
I,
and you're using the literal in the same sentence. So when
so
you just arbitrarily say you can't put the two together in the same sentence, there's nowhere in the
okay,
Bible or anywhere that say that somebody can't use the two together.
you can Ed, I acknowledge that you can do that. When you're talking about God giving a set of instructions to Adam,
Yeah,
you're saying that when he is, you're saying that when for God, the spiritual is literal, right?
yeah.
Now let's forget
Listen,
all the. Now I'm
I'm
not even
gonna say
attacking.
no, 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 no,
No,
no,
but
no.
no,
I'm gonna
Ed,
say one more thing. I'm gonna
Ed,
say one more thing. No, you said a lot. Let me say one more thing. Okay. I told you, and I tried to tell you this before, but you wouldn't listen. So now I'm
Ed,
explaining to
Ed,
you.
I was,
No,
but
I
no, no, no,
said
no,
now,
Ed,
I
don't
said
say
now I'm
nothing,
explaining to you. I said
Ed.
now I'm
I don't
explaining
want
to you.
anything
I said
explained to
now I'm
me.
explaining to you.
You said,
I
Ed,
said now I'm
I was
explaining
about to
to you.
make the point here,
I said now I'm explaining
Ed,
to you. You
Ed,
interrupted me, so now I'm explaining this to you.
Ed. Look,
You're not going to talk over me and act like I don't have a point.
I'm not
Let me
saying you don't
explain
have a
it to
point.
you, and then
I
you can
was
deal with the
mid,
point I give you.
but I was
Because you're acting
midway.
like you don't know what I'm talking about.
Ed, I
Because
was mid.
because we're using the physical and the
Ed,
spiritual in the
Ed,
same
I
situation.
was midway into making a point, and then you interrupted to say you wanted to say
Make
one
your
last
point.
thing,
Make your
and
point.
then
Make your point. We're talking
saying
to
that
make your
one
point.
thing,
Make your point.
okay. The point is for you said for the God is for the spiritual God, all spiritual things are literal, or the spiritual is literal. So when God speaks, He's only speaking in spiritual terms. Is that your point? Is that your
No,
argument?
not only.
So he
See, when you
speaks in
say
both
only,
good.
that's when you
Okay, so if that's the case, then when he says die, he could be referring to literal.
literal according to himself, which is spiritual.
Okay. So for us, when God says something, are we to interpret that as spiritual or literal?
It depends on the context.
So okay, so and for God, sometimes the context would change mid-sentence.
Yes,
Okay, so if he says, if you bite of the fruit, he's talking about a literal fruit,
that's correct.
but he's talking about spiritual death.
That's correct.
And then and the serpent comes back later and contradicts him.
Yes.
Is he talking about a physical death or a spiritual death now?
The serpent is trying to create the
I'm
spiritual
asking
death.
I'm asking the question: is the serpent referring to spiritual death or literal death when the serpent says you will not die?
The serpent is referring to the physical death, but he
Okay.
knows the spiritual death will happen. That's the goal.
Okay. All right.
So he's
Well,
hiding the spiritual death.
I,
The serpent knows
I,
that's going to happen, but he's
I,
hiding that.
when it comes to context here, man, you are choosing between spiritual and literal based on when it's convenient for you, because you're not giving any hermeneutics. You're not explaining the science behind your interpretation. You're just choosing when it's convenient for you, because it is convenient to say that it's spiritual, because otherwise you have to acknowledge that God is lying. But then you can't use the spiritual when it's referring to the fruit, even though it's in the same sentence, because that would also mean that God will be lying. So you have to change the meaning based on how it affects God's truth telling abilities.
So you never use analogies in the literal before? You never listened to a commentator talk about he drove through the 40-yard line and made the field goal, or you know what I'm saying? Like, people do that all the time, but you don't have a problem with it. But in scripture, you have a problem.
I want to get and hermeneutics has a problem with, and I
Or
just
he
mean
flew,
I want to
he
give
flew
you last
past
word.
the defender. He flew past the defender
I want
to
to
get
give
to the
you
60-yard line.
okay. I want to give you last word. It's 8:30.
Okay,
But like I wanted to have you on 7 to 7:30, but we had some technical issues. But I do want to thank
understood.
you for coming on.
Understood. So
But
this,
I want to give you last word before we end the show.
all right. This what I'm gonna say as well. This is what I'm gonna
Okay.
say as well. When we talk about sexual immorality in the New Testament, it talks about that's a sin where you're sinning against your own body. So sexual immorality, it contributes to a person being in the spiritual death state. So the spiritual death happens as a result of sexual immorality. That's one of the markers of people that aren't regenerated yet, aren't born again yet. Okay, but yet they're doing something physical. So the sex is physical, and then it turns into a spiritual death, or turns into a spiritual situation. So somebody, and people will tell you this, that when they literally kill somebody, something inside of them changed. Something inside of me died that day when I had my first kill. Okay, so there are situations where you do something physical and it changes something within you permanently for the rest of your life. And so
I
that's
think,
what scripture is describing. That's what
that
scripture is describing.
sentence, I don't think the context would be changing in that sentence. Like I think they would mean like there's something in them that's literally changing. Like they're talking about like their mind, their beliefs, the way they see themselves. That to me that's not a change in context here. But
It's the same thing the scripture's doing. They literally bit the fruit and they spiritually died.
Okay.
So somebody literally killed somebody for the first time and something in them died. It's the same thing. They physically do something and then something on the inside emotionally happens, and then there's a death that occurs. It's the same thing.
We disagree, but it's all good.
Okay.
This is now that's debatable, right? Now that's agreeable. But hey, man, Ed, I want to appreciate you for coming on. Thanks for the lively conversation, man. I always enjoy chopping it up with you, man.
Yes, sir, man. Let's continue this, and let me know when the next debate is.
All right, man. Most definitely, bro.
Yes,
Thanks for
sir.
tuning in, guys. I will see you all later.
All right, man. Peace.
I'm a man.